Good afternoon, everybody. It is 3 p.m. on Tuesday, so it must be Zoom-i-Fication conversation. Although for those of you that were here last week and didn't see the Zoom-i-Fication conversation, you might be like doubting me. But sorry, we are back after a 2-week hiatus, and we are talking gratitude today. So I am grateful that you are coming back to see us. And we will be back for the weeks that follow. But today, we are going to be talking with the lovely Emily Oliver, who is the owner of Goals Garden and an amazing life coach, to talk about the connection between happiness and gratitude and how it can help you with your life and your goals. So to get us started, let me get Emily into the room. And if you are watching live, that is awesome. Make sure that you are writing comments for us. And if you are watching on the replay, put your comments in too. We'll follow up with you. But really, if you're with us live, let us know. We want to hear from you. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Jean.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
So I want you to know that I have 2 heaters on and I'm still really cold, and you're in Florida, but I'm not upset about that.
The face says differently. I had to close my sliding patio doors for the first time in 5 days to have this conversation because of background noise,
So tell the people a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure. So I'm a transformation coach with a Goals Garden, and I'm also a Reiki master. My specialty is in the science of happiness. So applying positive psychology to your life to live your most fulfilling and joyous life, right? My why is to appreciate and uplift those who have yet to unleash their potential to really live a joyous life. So through doing that via positive psychology, and then sometimes going deeper with the Reiki, it really complements each other well to allow your best self to emerge. And like you said, I live in Florida. I'm from New Jersey. Can't take the girl out of Jersey, so I still get to play with Jean.
Who every time she talks with Emily is grateful that she's in Jersey, not upset that she's not in Florida. No, it's okay. So when I realized that this was the perfect time to talk gratitude, I had to reach out to you because it's such a funny thing that people sort of misplace the idea of gratitude and what gratitude can do for the person that it's being offered to, for yourself inside the gratefulness, all of those pieces, parts. And I wanted to have a conversation about sort of the things that enrich your life. And doing that, it only made sense to call you and say, come and play with me. So I'm going to just start with, tell me what gratitude means to you.
Gratitude to me means focusing on the positive in my life and appreciating my blessings, and kind of taking my ego and myself out of it so that I can really just enjoy what life has given me, right? And gratitude, it is a tool that I use too when sometimes I'm not my best self, right? You hear so many people say, oh, what do you do to ground yourself when you're really negative or upset? What do you do? And they'll say, oh, I count my blessings. I think of all the things that I'm grateful for. They even say anything quote unquote bad that's ever happened to you, you can find something good that came out of it if you just search hard enough. And, that's not our inclination usually, but it's something that really helps us. And it not just us, but worldwide, people have been using this as a tool to make themselves feel better since the dawn of the ages.
Well, it's interesting, and people do get really angry sometimes when you say these sort of things, because it's like, no, I don't want to think that way. But I try to look at the world as I'm either learning what I want to do or what I don't want to do, right? I'm in the process of learning. I'm either learning that this is something to take on or something not to take on. And inside that space, it means that for me, when something happens that isn't something I would really long for in my world, I can still appreciate the fact that I just learned a lesson, right? So if nothing else, I did just learn a lesson. And inside that, I try to say, you know what? Okay, thank you. You just showed me where the pit of vipers are. I don't want to go that way anymore. Right? Um, and it takes the onus away from, oh my goodness, why did I have to find the pit of vipers? Right? Why do the vipers always show up for me? Right?
Yeah. And you can just tell by the way a person is being, whether they are a person who practices gratitude or, acts that victim role of, oh, I'm not responsible for the things that happen in my life. And gratitude is such a powerful place to be. It's such an empowering feeling, and you always want to be responsible for where you show up in your life. So it's really interesting that you said that about vipers.
Right? It becomes it sort of becomes a ladder out of that space that feels so low, right? Because you can sort of take that first step up and out by going, okay, I found something that's good about this. One of the things that you just said was about taking ownership inside that space, and I think that, and I'm guessing you're on board with me on this one, that you really are in control of your happiness, right? You really are in control, and to that end, you are really in control of that which you are acknowledging as a blessing or being grateful for. But people are in a state of struggling with, but not everything's my fault. Like we have this thing, like other people are in the mix with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you balance that? How do you come out of that hole?
Yeah, and that's a really relevant topic with, our world being so divided recently, right? Some people are like, I'll just never understand half the people, on this planet. And it's a choice, right? I don't even like to use the word control because we don't have control over anything ever, but we have a choice on how we're going to look at something. So, in my studies of happiness, the crux to sustainable happiness is how quickly you can bounce back from adversity. So, it's interesting because our ability to bounce back hasn't changed that much over the past couple of years, but the circumstances of our world have gotten a lot crazier, so to speak.
Definitely more turbulent. Yeah, I'm there with you.
Yeah, so people are really starting to open their eyes to, okay, well, I can't really skate by my normal woe is me attitude because then I would just be miserable all the time. So I'm going to have to jump on this train of, positivity and making that choice to see the good in things. Otherwise, I'm just going to be miserable this whole time, right? And talking about gratitude, it has been statistically proven to increase your well-being, increase your resilience, right? That bounce back time, strengthen your social relationships, all things which we didn't need as badly as we need right now, so I don't even know what your original question is, but I just went on.
I think I love it, but I love what you said because it feels counterproductive, right? The world is so turbulent. There's so much going on. You really do want to turn the dial up to woe is me. Like you really do want to be able to say, this is never gonna, and it's really the opposite that's sort of the saving grace, which is to be able to say, I'm really grateful I got up this morning. I'm really grateful there's a roof over my head. Whatever those pieces, parts are that you can be grateful for, holding on to that is like a life raft inside that turbulency, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it's hard too to do that because misery loves company, right? We love to complain, and humans just seek validation. You know, Oprah says as soon as everybody gets off her show, it doesn't matter if it's Beyonce, it doesn't, they go, how did I do? Right? You always want to be validated in how you're feeling. And so to say, you know, I don't need validation, instead I'm going to choose to focus on the positive is kind of like also against our nature. But it's really important to start doing that, because there's not much else that we have, right? We have that negativity bias where the negative screams at us and the positive only whispers, and it's so easy to focus on the negative because that's the way we evolved. That's the way we stayed alive, because we were hyper attuned to danger, you know, back when we were, you know, in the Stone Age. And those were the people that survived. But now in the year 2021, our amygdala, the fear center of our brain, is still screaming danger, danger. And it outweighs the positive. It outweighs the blessings that we have in our day, the beautiful day, the compliment from a stranger, your kid doing well on a test. It outweighs all of that. So we need to actually be really intentional about what we're grateful for, reflecting on our blessings, because then it really allows us to have more beauty in our lives, right? We notice it more, we see it more, and it just becomes more apparent. And it really is that mindset shift. You know, it's almost like, I don't want to get woo woo, like the universe rewards you, but when you change your mindset, the things in your life begin to change too. So, you know, you're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it for your life, for those around you, for everybody.
Well, it's a concept of the red car, right? So the day you decide that you're buying the red car is the day you suddenly see every red car on the street.
Yeah.
Right? Like everywhere you turn around, there's, I like that red car. Ooh, that's a different, red car. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And it goes in either direction, right?
It's called like the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. Right. It's an actual.
You can be all fancy about it. I just call it the red car syndrome. So if you and it really does go in either direction, right? So you can spend your time looking for the things that are unfortunate or life destroying, or you can find the things that are life affirming that you can be grateful for. And when you start looking for them, they show up, right? It's really, it's such a concept that needs to be modeled, because we hear so much about our children and the stress that they're under right now, and the fear that they have, and just trying to get back to whatever life was, and what new life is. I don't know that we ever, rewind to where we were. I think that we just find the new steps, right? But figuring that out, and the kids are feeling very disconnected, and being able to sort of model that, what can you be grateful for scenario is so powerful for them too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you know how they say, like, you're the sum of the people you spend the most time with, right? So if you're ungrateful and you're expressing or complaining and your children are around, they're going to pick that up from you, and they're going to mirror that behavior. So that's also a reason why when you start to become more grateful and talk more about your blessings than your complaints, like the good appears more in your life. If you think about it, if you're complaining to a friend all the time, you're not their go-to person to tell about how amazing their day was, right? You're the person that they're like, yeah, that does suck, I'm going to complain with you. But if you're always the person who's like, what was the best thing that happened to you today? What was a small win this week? Then you seek that out in that person. And then when you talk to them, you're like, yeah, what did you experience? And it just creates that beautiful ripple effect. You don't even know.
Which is really, I love that. Again, I'm kind of like focused on the kid thing, but I was just thinking because we're in the test cycle, right? Everybody's rolling into end of year testing and all of that stuff. And as parents, I think we tend to say, what did you struggle with today? Because
Yeah.
we want to help, right? But what a powerful statement to say, what was the best thing that happened to you today?
Yeah.
What's the class you love the most? What teacher inspired you the most today? That kind of thing.
Yeah. What was the coolest thing you learned? What, totally. What friend of yours, had a win? How did, what was the best thing about practice, right? Sports or theater, any of those things. And it helps you learn about them too, right? Not just learning of their struggles, but as your kids get older, you want to learn what they love too, what really brings them joy, because then it invites more opportunity for joy, for you to create joy, help create joy in their lives.
I love talking to you. That's like such a great thing, because really, as a parent, you really do spend your life going, "Does that hurt?" Is that like you really are kind of focused on where can I help? Where can I help? Where can I help?
And where can I protect, right? I want to
Right.
protect. You don't want to protect them from joy, so you're a little less concerned, but around like, okay, well, great.
Glad you're happy, but what's broken? Yeah.
Yeah, I got 1 hour. Let's fix things. And
So
and the that age too is the least likely to express gratitude, right? So like young adulthood to middle age is the sample size, the group that's the most grateful. But if anybody has a high schooler, right? If anybody has a middle schooler, they're not coming home just offering gratitude. It's like, this went wrong and this happened and this happened. And so you really, if you start them on that early, it's like, oh, you're just building this beautiful foundation for them to continue to build upon and take with them. And gratitude is one of the longest, it has the long-term effects, right? A lot of interventions through therapy and positive psychology, they do well in the moment, they do well a little bit after, but gratitude lasts so much longer than these other things. Writing gratitude letters, expressing gratitude, like I've done a lot of research on different studies, and they last like 3 months, and I think that's also why people fall in and out of their gratitude practice so easily. They're like, I feel great, and then they keep feeling great, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I haven't engaged in my gratitude practice in months, and I got to get back on it, right?
So if it's something that you need to stretch into, what are the ways that people can start embracing gratitude in their world?
Yeah. So you can go for a gratitude walk, right? If you walk to your mailbox every day, you can ask yourself, okay, what am I grateful for? And then I always love to add, and how did I contribute to it? Because, so often the last person we express gratitude to is ourselves, right? Like if you list the things you love, you forget to add yourself. If you list the things you're grateful for, you forget to add yourself. So, I'm grateful for this. How did I contribute? Like, how am I a part of it? What does it add to my life? Really deepen it. So you could do a walk to the mailbox. You can do it in the shower. You can have a gratitude trinket. Like, if you wear a bracelet or a watch, every time you see it, you can say, I'm grateful for this because it adds this to my life. You can do the most popular, which is a gratitude journal, gratitude drive. There's so many different things that you can do. But the most important thing is that you just do it. You start, and you want to really try your best not to repeat, right? People say, oh, I did a gratitude practice and I said I was grateful for my family every single day for 7 days. And I'm like, well, that's great, but that's going to lose a little bit of its intention and meaning after a while. So if you stretch your brain, I'm grateful for sun because it adds vitamin D to my life. I'm grateful for sunscreen because it adds protection to my like whatever it is. If you can just go on it, then it becomes so much simpler. Because a lot of people have a lot of trouble starting, right? It's really hard for them to think of it, but the more you do it, the better you become at it. And it's just, there's only up from here.
It's funny because I think people look at it and it feels trivial.
Yes.
Right?
I do that all the time. Like, of course, why do I have to admit it? Of course, like, I'm grateful for this. Your body doesn't know that. Your brain doesn't know that. You're great, you gotta make it front of mind. Baader-Meinhof phenomenon.
So that you can start seeing red cars. So this is kind of a crazy question, but you create this world where you're saying, I'm so grateful. How do you protect yourself from the people who aren't living that life? How do you like keep that bubble?
Yeah. So, as we had said, misery loves company. So you can engage in it with them. But I like to actually just kind of create a happiness shield by, you can say internally or to them, right? I always include acceptance, gratitude, and optimism. So I accept that you're having a rough day. I'm optimistic, or I'm grateful that you can come to me and tell me about it. I'm optimistic your day is going to get better, right? So acceptance, gratitude, optimism, AGO, a go. I just remember it like that. Sometimes people don't want to hear your positivity, so you can say it in your head. I accept she's having a bad day. I'm grateful that, she's getting this off her chest so we can move on. And I'm optimistic that once she gets this off her chest, I can find a creative way to change the subject to something more positive, right? So it could be an internal monologue or an external dialogue, but you can protect yourself from this, right?
It really is sort of like that loud sucking noise, right? As you kind of walk through the world and you feel the energy. A friend of mine who does feng shui talks about the energy trail that's left behind from angry people. That you can like suddenly you'll walk into a room and you'll feel angry and you don't know why technically, but it's because the energy that was left behind. And whether or not you believe in that sort of stuff, it is really true that there are days when you're just like, I don't know why I just snapped, right? I don't know why I just, and sometimes it really is because of the person you just bumped into, or, you take on that energy that was left behind by that last person you spoke with or whatever. So finding ways to shake that off. I love the idea of like having a talisman, having a bracelet, having a watch, having something that as your eye catches it, it just kind of reminds you and brings you back to that idea.
Yeah. And, we're with it. We're with each other in the ups and the downs. We all have those energy vampires in our life. We always, we have the negative Nancy's, the Debbie Downers, but we can express gratitude that we're not going through what they're going through. You can be empathetic without absorbing it. But you have to be intentional about the time that you're spending with them, and if you're protecting yourself and filling your own cup too. It's really hard to spend 90% of your time with energy vampires and remain positive. So, if there are those people in your life who are just taking and taking and taking and not giving, and it's been like that for a really long time, it might be worth reconsidering, the time that you spend with those people, because you're not doing anybody any favors if you're not feeling your best too.
I have to say, probably one of the kindest, happiest people is here today. Hi, Stephanie. I'm so glad you came to hang with us. Stephanie is amazing. Stephanie has her own powers of happiness, and really does lift a room when she's in it. So thanks for coming and playing with us. But when I look at the world, and I'm really happy that you kind of brought up all the stuff that's going on, because we're rolling into next week, getting together with family that we might not have seen in a year and a half or more, right? And there's bound to be that tug of war between different ideologies, different realities. Are you working with people right now on like how to navigate that space of discord? Like, how do you like manage that?
Yeah. So, we oftentimes forget what our intention is for these holidays. And we get so nervous, right? I am working with a client who every year she's like, I don't even enjoy the holidays anymore. I'm so anxious because it's so out of control. I never know what this relative is going to say to this relative, and I never know, right? So if you kind of relinquish that control, you don't know what they're going to say. You do not have any power over other people, but you can have power over the way that you take it, right? So I don't want to like divert too much, but just knowing that, it isn't personal. People are doing the best that they can. You don't have to like what they're saying, but you can be accepting and optimistic and change the subject and not kind of indulge in it, right? You don't have to get involved in the drama.
I think that a lot of times you show up with this really grand idea, right? That this is the day. It's going to be a great day. I'm going to walk out of here. It's going to be awesome. We're here to be loving and to be with each other. And I'm so happy I'm going to be here. And you leave feeling like you kind of went through the war. And I think a lot of that is the setup, right? Like, you're waiting for someone, instead of walking in saying, I'm so grateful I get to be with my family, or I'm so grateful that, these are people I haven't seen in a while, or whatever. It's, I know Uncle so-and-so is going to challenge me, right? I know cousin so-and-so is going to say this thing that always makes me crazy, instead of, oh my God, I get to have turkey with my family again, right?
And I haven't caught up with them in a year, so I'm going to hear all the awful things that happen. As my parents get older, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, my mom's one of 8, and I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody's in the hospital. It's like, man, it's like the news update is so bleak, but we have the power to kind of steer certain conversations that we have, and we forget that. We just go in like, hey, how's it going? And then we're leaving this big open space for these people to just unload whatever comes to mind. And what's going to come to mind? The negative, because the negative is the way we're wired. So instead, be more intentional about what you want to talk about. What's the best thing that happened to you this year? What, I saw you won that award, or I saw you did this at work, or, you got that promotion, or your son graduated, or, like, really see if you can highlight the positives. And then if somebody starts being negative, you can say, hey, I haven't caught up with so-and-so in a while. Like, you don't have to dismiss them necessarily, but you can practice a go, right? Like, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm optimistic it's going to get better, and I'm grateful that you're here now. I love you. And it, like, completely derails people, and they're like, all right.
I think that probably the most impressive derailment tool is, I hadn't thought of that. Thank you for sharing that with me. What did you think of that movie? Right? Like, it's because if they're really laying the groundwork to have an argument, if you can say, wow, thank you for sharing that with me, there's no argument. It's like, because you're not.
They want to share, so you can jump in and share too. Wow, that's crazy. Do you want to hear what happened to me? So, and maybe the worst thing they leave, oh wow, like, what's her face talked about herself so much and it was so positive. Like, that rarely happens, and who cares? At least one of us is doing well. If that's going to be the talk from your family party. Like, anytime I tried to say something, so-and-so interjected with how grateful she is and how amazing everything is. Like, I'll be that aunt. I'll be that cousin. You got to try this food. Just put it in your mouth.
And you really can't turn it around though, too, right? Like the other part of living in gratitude is understanding when you are grateful for. So you have the ability to say thank you, right? And that thank you is powerful for both parties.
But
right?
we forget that a part of us loves the drama. We're from New Jersey, and people are always like, "Oh my gosh, this was so crazy," but we feed into it. Years and years of feeding into that, and we'll be the last to admit it. I'm the last to admit that I wanted the tea or the gossip on so and so and blah blah blah. But it's family, You talk about the dirt, and then afterwards, you don't feel that great. So just ask yourself, why am I feeding into this drama?
It's really such a funny thing. As the baby of my family, and there was enough of a age difference, my older siblings loved, like, it was like poking. It was like, we're just gonna poke you a little bit and see if you jump, right? And you do sort of get that rhythm that's what life is, and that's what it's going to be like. And being able to take a moment, and for everyone who's listening, whether you're listening live or watching us on the replay, I'm not saying it's easy. I am here to tell you it's not. At least at first, it's really not. Because there's that reflexive pain that comes from it too, right?
It's
that sort of,
yeah.
And because you've lived it, you're trying to deflect it and protect yourself from it. So the only way that you can protect yourself from it is to acknowledge it's there. And once you acknowledge it's there, then you're waiting for it. Right? So somehow you have to do both. You have to be able to say, okay, I kind of know that Uncle Harry might do this, but I'm going to handle it this way.
Yeah.
And then
every single one of my aunts and uncles are going to say, "Oh, you're still not, you don't have a boyfriend? That's okay, But I'm like, that's fine. That's because, that's what comes up for them.
Do you get that? I can just imagine, you're so cute and you're so nice. Why don't you have a boy? And then it's sort of like, okay, wait, I think that was a compliment, but it sounded kind of like an insult.
It is, yeah. Yep, totally. It's why, it's fine. You're pretty. You'll get a boyfriend. Thanks.
We're not sure what Emily's doing. She must be scaring them off because she's really cute and pretty.
I accept that you think I should have a boyfriend by now. I'm grateful that you're still trying to connect with me and make conversation with me, despite not knowing what to talk to me about at this point. And I'm optimistic that one day I'll have a boyfriend so that it's less awkward for you.
Or I'm optimistic that you'll just get tired of it and I don't want to deal with this next time.
I'm optimistic that when I get a boyfriend, you'll know what else, you'll find something else to talk about. But you gotta laugh. Everybody's just doing the best they can, and people don't realize, where it's coming from.
Well, it's also this strange, because we were talking about earlier, you tend to ask people what's wrong so you can help them, right? And people have this, I was going to say misguided, and I don't even know if that's the right word, but just this real instinct to start with the negative, to fix you, to make you better, right? And they don't look at it like, I'm pointing out what I believe is negative with you. They look at it like, I'm helping you.
I see you and I see your negativity and I'm here for you. I can see your struggle and I'm here, like, and it's interesting.
So inside that space, we're back to gratitude, because if instead of looking at it as, I cannot believe my aunt keeps talking to me about the fact that I don't have a boyfriend yet, if it's, thank you so much for caring about me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm really good in this space, but thank you so much for caring about me. As soon as I have a boyfriend, I'll happily tell you, but I love that you care. And I love that brooch you're wearing. Oh, it's beautiful. Where'd you get it? Right? It's sort of, instead of internalizing it and saying, how dare you, it's, thank you for seeing me.
Yeah.
In whatever strange way you see me, but thank you for seeing me.
Well, and thanks for wanting me to have love in my life. Like they really are coming from a place of, oh, you're so lovable. We love you so much. Like, why don't you have a partner that loves you as much as we do? And that's really beautiful, and that's fine. In their eyes, I'm still that 7-year-old girl who they're fixing and taking care of.
So inside that space, because I try to be as honest as possible, let's talk about the fact that sometimes they are not coming from that place, right? Mm-hmm. So there are toxic people, right? There are people that are, whether they are toxic people or it is just a toxic combination when you were with that person, right? How are there strategies to manage that scenario? The scenario where it can't get redirected, you can't center yourself enough to get grateful. What are the strategies to manage or leave that space?
Yeah. Well, and before I answer that too, like, why not just believe that they're coming from a good place? Like, does it really serve you to know that Uncle Frank is evil to his core? Right?
It's an interesting comment.
Like, yeah, they could be, but it still doesn't really help me in what I want to create out of this Thanksgiving. My objective is to, whatever your objective for Thanksgiving is, why are you doing this? Think of that intention. And if this person doesn't support that intention, then don't spend your time with them. Don't feed into them. Focus on the 9 other people at Thanksgiving who are supporting that.
Well, it's really interesting.
You can set boundaries too. So that's to answer your question. You could set a boundary. Hey, if you talk about this, I'm going to leave, right? Or if, I don't want to talk about this, I'm telling you up front, like, this is what I want out of my Thanksgiving. And I've gone down this road in the past and it hasn't gone anywhere. So I would just appreciate it if we stayed away from this topic. And if I hear this topic, I'm going to go chat with someone else. I'm going to go get more food. I'm going to,
I have to tell you, I'm a little bit concerned about myself, because when you said that about Uncle Frank, what I really thought is, oh my goodness, if Uncle Frank is being really evil and you're like, thank you so much for that, Uncle Frank, he is pissed. And that's gorgeous.
I was going to say, I love killing people. I kill people with kindness left and right. People yell at me. I'm like, I love your shirt. They're like, wait, what?
I know.
Where'd you get that shirt? Show me the tag. Like, they're like, I was just yelling at you. I was heckling you for driving too slow and forgetting your blinker.
It is funny. It does really take people out of their moment when you don't play the game the same way. It's sort of like someone's playing Monopoly and you show up with Uno cards and you're like, yeah, I'm going to play a reverse too. And I was like, No, like we're playing Monopoly. It changes all the dynamics. They can't play their game if you don't, right?
Yep. And if you know that person and you know the things that make them happy or the things that they're proud of, or, like you can steer the conversation around that too. I like to, oh, this football team is doing really well. Oh, I saw your son, blah, blah, blah. Oh, do you remember when I was a little girl and you got me that present? Like,
And then you feel really kind of amazing when you see a smile, right? I mean, there's a definite link between your spirit and your gratitude. How can you kind of explain how that works? Like how being inside gratitude lifts your spirits?
yeah, it kind of goes back to that energy that we were talking about before. How you can just tell when somebody like, oh, it's so tense at that house, or whenever I go there, it's so tense. This person is so tense. Or you can see somebody who's living and breathing gratitude and doing their best, and it's the energy that you want to be around. So, you can affect people by degrees of separation by your own energy and your own way of being. So as long as you focus on your way of being, it's going to protect you and it's going to affect those around you for the most part.
It's also, I think anybody listening, you've been in that space where you're so focused and somebody goes, thank you so much for that. And you go, me? Right? And so gratitude as a gift for yourself is really powerful, but it is such a gift sort of for the universe because it allows people to be seen in a positive light and gives them something actually to aspire to. Right? Like, wait, she actually saw that I opened the door for her. Or wait, she actually saw that I did this extra thing that made her life easier. It was so simple for me, but I'm so happy, right? So it feels, I used trivial before, but sometimes it feels really trivial to say thank you for the small stuff, but it's the small stuff that no one expects being thanked for, right?
Yeah. I love opening up like my team meetings, and like I just start with, I admire this about you and I appreciate this about you, right? We'll go around and it starts it on such a high note as opposed to, because there's always that one person who's like, I have so much going on and I have 20 minutes and da da da. Okay, cool. Let's take 10 seconds for me to tell you I admire how much you juggle and appreciate your time today. Like, oh, okay. Well, then I'm going to stop acting so, high and mighty about my time and and being here with you.
But it really is so difficult. I think we're sort of so attuned to the what have you done for me lately that we forget to say, wait, I'm so grateful for what you did to me. It did for me. It said to me, but did for me. I'm so grateful for those pieces, parts of joy or struggle. Sometimes people give you something that's a challenge, but that's something to be grateful for too. Life isn't always about smooth sailing. Sometimes it's about, I say it all the time. If you follow me on social media, one of my favorite photos to take is after the rains have passed, when the world is just saturated in color and glistening with dew. And it's amazing. Those are amazing images of landscapes. And it happened because it was gray and rainy and not so great. So, that I think is a part of the whole gratitude cycle as well, is being able to say, I'm so grateful that time has passed.
Yeah.
Maybe I can't be grateful for what happened, but I'm so grateful I lived through it. I'm so grateful it's past. I'm so grateful I'm beyond it. I'm so grateful that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It just becomes something sort of, if it can become something that becomes very second nature, really informs your life in a way that nothing else does. Right? So it's not just about cranberry sauce and the fight over whether or not it's fresh cranberry sauce or it came from a can. It's not about that. So how do you live gratitude? How does gratitude really work for you?
You know, it's a hard thing to answer because that is what I do. I live gratitude, right? Like, I just think of what everything adds to my life. So, you know, I'll have my 5-minute journal, or if I'm feeling less empathetic or impatient or underslept, or, you know, that is just an invitation for me to look at what I'm grateful for. So, you know, it's a way of being with the people in your workspaces, in your life, and in anything. Whenever you struggle with connecting with somebody, you always just express gratitude.
I have to show you this. This is like so sweet. You have to see this. Stephanie said, I'm driving, but I'm grateful for friends like you. We love you, Stephanie.
Yeah, Stephanie adds support to both our lives, right? She always shows up. And Stephanie's a great example of life circumstances, you know, being different in the cards and the way that she's looked at things, right? She's a great example of, okay, you can look at things like this, or you could look at things like this. And she wants to live her life in gratitude and be the person that focuses on her blessings.
She's definitely there for everybody. Stephanie is one of those people that if she is in your life, you are always grateful for it. There's kind of no ifs, ands, or buts about that one.
Yeah. You know, we all have, like, we call it the 3 a.m. friend. Like, as long as you have one 3 a.m. friend that you could call when you're in a pickle, like, I know like 40 people who could put Stephanie on that list.
I know, right? Like, Stephanie is going to be calling, if she's got 3 friends calling him, well, I'm going to get 2 of you an Uber. It'll be okay, though. It's like, I can only be there for one of you, but I got Ubers coming for the other 2. It's all good.
If your house is on fire, I got you. Oh, well, Jean, it has been such a pleasure hanging out with you and talking about gratitude.
Always and forever. Emily is the maven of happiness. Emily is the person that you want to speak to when you are looking for a way to elevate your life. So if you're finding yourself up against a wall, if you're finding yourself in a space where you feel like you're spinning in circles, or worse, you're sitting and you can't figure out how to stand up and what way to move, Emily is the person that you want to talk to. Go to goalsgarden.com and you can figure out how. That's GOALS, goalsgarden.com, and figure out how you can contact this lady, and she can walk you through how to look at life in different ways and find different avenues so that you can stand up and move forward and you can stop spinning. It's knowing Emily is a great thing and something you will be very grateful for. I'm so glad I know you.
I'm so grateful to you. You add just so much love and creativity and light to my life, and the things that you say like that just make me want to tear up. So I just want to tell you that I admire you holding space and doing these Zoom-i-Fication conversations across such a wide variety of topics, and every single one is fire. And I just appreciate you giving your time and always showing up and always doing this, because I know sometimes you don't want to.
Well, can I tell you, that is so that is what this all is, right?
Yeah.
When we were when we were locked away from each other. And I am so grateful for the people in my life. I'm so grateful for the people who trust me to create images for them. And I really am so grateful for this energy. It is such amazing energy. And not being connected to it was very difficult. And so being able to sort of open up these windows and have these conversations and let other people see the energy of all these amazing people that are in my world was just an act of me being, first off, insanely curious about what was going on in their world, but also just expressing my gratitude for who they were and their role in my life. So it's been a joy. It really has been. And I hope that people have learned stuff from the conversations. I hope that people have learned from this one. Yes, you can send it to the person that you think needs the help the most. But I would listen to it yourself a couple of times over too. It will change your trajectory in such an amazing way. If you wake up in the morning and you're grateful for the challenges that lie ahead instead of dreading them. Right? When I was younger, someone said something to me and I've never forgotten it. They said, don't make decisions. Decisions are final. Make choices. Choices happen every second. So make the choice to be happy. Make the choice to be grateful. And that doesn't mean that the next second something is going to happen that's going to shift your reality. But then you have a moment again to make the choice to be happy and make the choice to be grateful. Every choice is every second. So use those seconds really, really wisely.
Yeah.
I am.
And, you've made the choice to look at the world through a beautiful lens too. So make that choice to look at the world through a beautiful, clear lens instead of, that dirty old one that doesn't serve you.
And look in the direction where there's light. Just look that way. You can choose which way you look. I am so grateful you were with me, my love. I am so happy that you were here. I am so happy you were all here, whether you're watching us live or watching us on the replay. I love you much. Next week is going to be a little special. You'll see when you come back next week. But I am so grateful that you're here. And I wish you all the most amazing week. Emily, enjoy the sunshine in Florida for me. Have a little beach moment. Think of me. I will certainly be thinking of you. I'm not jealous. I'm not. Have a really great time, everybody.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.